4 years ago, my family moved from the city. We couldn't take the fast-paced life, and we're a wealthy and well-educated family, so we figured we would move somewhere remote and peaceful. Hayabi Forest, western part of Maine, is where we settled. Now, in our family, we had me. Then you had my father, my mother, one brother and one sister. Things were always fine around here. We lived off the land and life was great. But then everything changed, and it wasn't for the better. It was horrifying. I'm alone now. It got them, and I'm sure I'm next. So to whoever listens to this story, I hope you never stay here. It will get you too. These are my final thoughts and my horrific story. It all started when my sister went for water one day. She didn't return for almost an hour, but we lived alone out here. Or at least so we thought. I still hear her screams sometimes. That ear-slitting cry of terror. And the scene of my father and brother flashing looks of extreme terror before breathing through the door. They came back, glistening blood on their pants and shoes, crying uncontrollably. They had found nothing left of her but a few bone splinters, her ripped clothes and a puddle of blood. Things were never the same after that day. Mother never really spoke again after seeing her daughter's remains. The next person to go was my father. Our food was running low and we were snowed in, so we couldn't go to town. He grabbed his rifle and took to the wilderness around us. He didn't come back when we expected him to. My brother and I decided that we would go search for him in the morning. There was no need to go out then. Around 1 a.m, I was dozing in a kitchen chair when there was a low, guttural growl from outside the door. Then a resounding bang, bang, bang on the door, and then a loud thump. A flash of a mottled black-furred creature on 2 hind legs sprinted past my window. That set me off. I screamed at the top of my lungs until my brother ran to me and asked what was happening. I recounted the story to him and he grabbed a rifle and handed me one, then motioned silently towards the door. He made to open it and cracked it open very slowly and gasped in fear. It was our father, or what was left. His corpse was mangled to extreme lengths. Arms were gone, eyes were gouged out, and he was covered in claw marks that dripped crimson. My brother collapsed in horror and shut the door weakly. No one left in the house anymore. My mother still never spoke. She just would weakly nod or shake her head to communicate, if even that. My brother would break down at anything that reminded him of our lost family. But what I realised is that whatever that thing is, it's not going to stop until it's killed all of us. I feel it. A few weeks had passed. We lived in fear. Some nights we would hear those horrid growls and we would make sure no one fell asleep that night. Instead, we would stay up with guns in hand until daybreak. One morning after a long night of paranoia, my brother proclaimed that he was taking supplies and heading away to town. Freedom or death, he said. One of them happens today. He offered to take us with him. I pleaded with him not to go, but he insisted. I told him I would not go. My mother just shook her head mutely. He said he would send for help when he got to town and to keep everything locked. Don't you dare leave. Don't you even stick your nose out of that damn door, he said. I know I was only 10 months older than him, but I felt awful about him being the one who was going out. I knew it was going to get him. I just knew. That night, he walked out just before dark fully struck. Having made sure we were okay and had supplies, and began the nightmarish walk to the car. He got to the car and opened the half-frozen door after a few violent tugs on the handle. It was then that I heard the sound that unnerved me on the spot. He turned the key, and as the car started, a blood-curdling scream lit the night air. The beast left the trees from the side opposite my brother. The creature must have been almost 8 feet tall, with a mangled black wolf's face and body, but walked on its own 2 legs, or rather sprinted. My brother opened his eyes in fear and smashed his foot onto the gas pedal. The thing pounded onto the car and violently smashed his window. My brother steered wildly, trying to get away from the creature, but he crashed his car, smashed it into a tree. And if that didn't kill him, the beast reached into the car and pulled the still squirming body out of the car. The creature looked right at me through the window from a distance, before slicing open my brother's stomach with razor-sharp claws. Blood dripped from his body and he went limp. The creature walked towards the door, knowing he wanted me to fear him. He knew I was frozen. It reached the door and I hugged my rifle tight. There was a thud and another 3 bangs, although they went slowly this time. Bang, bang, bang. Then it screamed its chilling scream, like that of a banshee, and stampeded off into the woods. I couldn't open the door to retrieve my own brother's remains. I haven't slept since then. I just watched the door and listened for him, waiting for him to come back. Just me and my mother now. She doesn't eat or sleep or drink. She hasn't moved from the chair in 3 days. Until her death, I don't think she ever moved again, actually. It was a long night. 4 days without sleep. I've heard the growls every night since my brother's grisly demise. But tonight, they were louder. It was tonight he would attack. I knew it. I loaded my rifle and waited for it, thinking he would come through the door or the window in the kitchen. I was wrong. My mother sat in the other room, but even with my phobia of it, I let her be. It was late when I began to hear a scraping along the house sides. 4 times he circled. We were trapped, and he knew it. It stopped and my heartbeat quickened. As if in slow motion, I realized where he stopped just a moment too late. Right next to the side of the house where my mother was. I knew my fears were true when I heard the disheartening sound of the window shattering in the other room. I was rooted when I heard the beast's call and dropped to my knees. I saw him walk to my mother and in one stroke took her throat, and within a heartbeat her chest. He screamed and dove from her room. This was just a few short hours ago. The scrapings are starting again. To whomever finds this, leave quick and don't look back. Oh God, the scraping stopped. I don't have long. These have been my final thoughts, and the last ones I'll ever have. Please, heed this what